at the next picture. So here we have a picture of where Mary Seacole worked. Now, could you pause the video and have a think? Where do you think this picture is of? Okay, year 2, did you manage to have a look at the picture? Well, it looks like there's some tents in the picture, doesn't it? I wonder why that is. Well, that is because this picture shows the battlefield in the Crimean War in 1856. And why is it showing us the battlefield of the Crimean War in 1856? Could you pause the video and have a think? Okay, yeah, so it is showing us this battlefield of the Crimean War because in 1853, Mary Seacole wanted to help the soldiers in the Crimean War, just like Florence Nightingale did. And she travelled all the way to London to visit what's called the War Office, okay, to offer her help. She told the War Office that she wanted to help these soldiers in the Crimean War. Now, what do you think these people at the War Office, said to her? Well, they didn't want her help, okay? Her offer of help was turned down. They said no. Why do you think they might have said no? Could you pause the video now and have a think? Okay, year 2. Well, the reason they said no is very unfair indeed. And it was because she was black. Okay, because at the time there was lots of racial prejudice. Now, racial prejudice is when people were treated differently and were not allowed to do certain things because of the colour of their skin. So the War Office didn't want Mary Seacole's help just because of the colour of her skin, because there was lots of racial prejudice at the time, which is extremely unfair, okay? That should not have been the case because Mary Seacole wanted to help these soldiers. She was doing something nice, she was doing something good, but she got turned away because of this racial prejudice. So what did she do, okay? Because she still wanted to go and help the soldiers. Well, because they wouldn't help her help the soldiers, they wouldn't let her help the soldiers, she saved up her own money. Okay, how lovely of her. She saved up her own money, and she saved up this money so that she was able to travel to the Crimean War. And she opened at the Crimean War her own hospital for injured soldiers, okay, and it was called the British Hospital. So she saved up all this money and went to the Crimean War to help the soldiers by setting up this hospital called the British Hospital. Now, what is the difference between Florence Nightingale and Mary Seacole when it comes to the Crimean War? Well, Mary Seacole actually went to the battlefield, okay? So this is actually where Mary Seacole worked, okay? So she worked with the soldiers on the battlefield. So she might have visited them in their tents if they were wounded, okay? She looked after them on the battlefield as well as setting up this hospital. But Florence Nightingale, on the other hand, she nursed the wounded soldiers actually in the hospital in Scutari, okay? So she wasn't involved in the actual battlefield. She wasn't on the battlefield, but she helped the soldiers that were injured on the battlefield. Okay, so we have learned so much about Mary Seacole already from these sources, haven't we? So let's have a look at another source, well, another 2 sources. So we've got a picture of a plaque, and we've also got a picture of Mary Seacole's grave once she passed away. Now, we are going to have a look at these sources and see if we can work out any other information about Mary Seacole. So let's start with the first source, okay? I'm going to have a look at one of them with you, and then you're going to go away and see what else you can find out about Mary Seacole on these sources. So on the first source, we can see that she was alive from 1805. So therefore, we can say that from this source, we have found out that Mary Seacole was born in 1805. Okay, now I want you to have a look at the sources yourself, which you will find on your resource 1. And I would like you to draw arrows and annotate these different sources about all of the different things that you can find out about Mary Seacole just by looking at these sources. So pause the video now and have a go. Okay, year 2, so let's have a look at what else we can find out from these sources. Well, the next thing that it says on the first source is Jamaican nurse. Okay, so it tells us here that she's Jamaican. Okay, so that means that Mary Seacole was Jamaican. Now, where are you from if you're Jamaican? Well, you are from Jamaica, okay? And can you see the pin on our map? Well, Jamaica is a little island and it's next to South America, okay? So it's a little island and you'll find it on the east coast of North and South America. Okay, so that is where Mary Seacole was born, that's where she was from. She was Jamaican. Now, what else can we see from this first source? It says, heroine of the Crimean War lived here. So there we go. From this, we can see that she worked during the Crimean War. Look at all of this information that we've got just from this one source so far. Now, the last thing I can see on this source is it says Jamaican nurse. So therefore, she is remembered as a nurse. And it also says it on her gravestone, which says, of Kingston, Jamaica, a notable nurse who cared for the sick and wounded. Okay, so again, on that source, it also tells us that she was born in Jamaica and she was from Kingston in Jamaica and that she was a nurse. So therefore, on both of these sources, it tells us that she's Jamaican and that she is a nurse. Okay, now, what else can we see? Well, it says here that she cared for the sick and wounded in the West Indies, Panama, and on the battlefields of the Crimea. Okay, so therefore it just wasn't just the Crimean War in which she helped people, in which she nursed people, which she cared for people. It was also in the West Indies and Panama. So therefore, she cared for people. She nursed the sick in other places, not just the Crimean War. And then the last thing that we can see from these sources, we've got when she was born, or we can also see when she passed away, okay? Because it says that she was alive from 1805 to 1881, and we can see that on both of our sources. So she passed away in 1881, which was 25 years after the Crimean War ended. Okay, so well done if you were able to pick out those pieces of information about Mary Seacole from these two sources. You've been brilliant historians today, working out different facts from sources. That's excellent. So now, on your resource 2, so year 2 history, 24th of February, resource 2, you will find this worksheet, okay, which you can fill in about Mary Seacole. So it says you need to fill in her date of birth that we've learned from those sources, her date of death, so when she passed away. And then you need to write Mary Seacole is significant because. Why is she significant? Why was she influential? What did she do that was important? And then you need to fill in any other interesting facts that you've learned about Mary Seacole today. Maybe the fact that she made medicine, okay? Or maybe the fact she's from Jamaica. Okay, there's lots of different interesting facts about Mary Seacole. And if you want to find out your own fact, that's brilliant as well. But you can just use what you've learned in today's lesson if you'd like. Okay, brilliant, year 2. Well, good luck filling in your fact file on Mary Seacole, and I'm looking forward to seeing them. And I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson. And I'll see you in our next history lesson. Bye.